The Struggling Artist Record Club is a vinyl record subscription service where I hunt and curate the best punk and punk-adjacent music out there and mail their record to your door each and every month. Imagine finding your new favorite band from across the country without ever having to leave the house. It doesn't get much better than that. The excitement of discovering new music just got that much easier. As a member of the Struggling Artist Record Club, you are going to receive some of the best music you've ever heard from bands you may never even heard of. Whether you've been collecting records for years or just starting out, the Struggling Artist Record Club is designed specifically for you. And right now, all new members get a Struggling Artist Record Club exclusive along with the monthly selection. So head to StrugglingArtistRecordClub.com, pick a membership, and start building that collection today.
You're listening to the Struggling Artist Podcast.
People need to be entertained. They need the distraction.
With your host, Trev Allen.
I wish to God that somebody would do something to block out the voices in my head for 5 minutes.
Hello, everybody. Today, our guest is TJ Welch of the Welch Boys and TJ Welch and The Wasted. I've been listening to TJ perform music for over 2 decades, maybe right around 2 decades. This was an awesome conversation. This is like, I don't know. This is just like one of the ones that, like, I never thought I'd ever be able to talk to. And yeah, it was awesome. This was a good conversation. Stick around to the end of the episode to hear a song from the band, the Welch Boys. I want to shout out Dave Wells, our good buddy Dave Wells, for setting this one up. And that's how easy it is, folks. If you have a band you want to come on this podcast, just email me, Trev at thestrugglingartistpodcast.com, and we'll see if we can make it happen. That's how easy. It's just that simple. We'll catch you on the flip side. This is episode 337 of the Struggling Artist Podcast. Struggling with the Welch Boys. When I got the text from Dave, or the group text, I guess, right? He was like, I knew who you were. Like, we've met a couple times, and like, I've been listening to your music for a long time. So when he was like explaining, I'm like, oh, no, I know who TJ is.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for wanting to do this. This is, this is for me. I love, like, I'm a New England music, like, fanatic. Like, I'm a total homer when it comes to music. So primarily all I listen to is, I listen to things outside of here, and I interview people from outside of New England and stuff, but like, I always happen to bring up how rich the music is here,
Yeah. We're really fortunate to be living in such a great area for music and culture.
I think so. So, yeah, I went and checked out. So I hadn't seen anything from TJ Welch and The Wasted before. I knew of you guys because I saw like flyers for your shows. I hadn't been able to get to a show yet. So I found a video you guys did. You did Sonic Lobotomy as the band,
yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I checked that out and I was listening to it and I liked it. And it's different. It's different than some of the other projects I've heard you on, which is cool, right? So it's a little bit different. Let's get it. I don't know. Let's go back. When did you start playing music? Like, when did you get involved in like the music community out here?
Well, when I was a young kid, my early teens, maybe, 11, 12 years old, I got turned on to some good music by my older cousin. Turned me on to some great bands, and he stayed over our house for like a whole year, because his parents kicked him out, and so he stayed with us. Well, he tried to get sober. He was a nice guy, Chris Marino. He's a TV producer now out in Colorado. But he gave me all these albums. He bought his album collection. He had all sorts of great stuff, the Stones and Beatles and all that Grateful Dead stuff. So turned me on to a lot of music when I was like 10 years old. And then I started listening to more music, became obsessed with music, watching music on TV and at Saturday Night Live. I saw Gary Newman like in 1979 when he was on. I was just, wow, this is cool. So I went to see him. I made my father take me because I was too young to see him at the Orpheum. And just got into punk and new wave from that. And at the time in the early 80s, there was a pretty good hardcore punk scene in Boston. It was really a special time. Lots of bands like DYS, Jerry's Kids, SSD Control. So I'd go to shows. A lot of shows are at VFWs, all ages shows. I'm 15 years old and not old enough to get in the clubs. So just really got into music. And my father gave me an acoustic guitar about that point. He was trying to learn, but he just couldn't pick it up, And so I started playing and took a few lessons. And then I got a electric guitar, a Fender, and played with some friends. A real good friend of mine taught me how to play. His name is Chris Parslin. He just passed away last year, but he did that movie, The Boys from Nowhere, which is a documentary on the rat in the Boston music scene in the '70s. Bands like the Neighborhoods and stuff like that. So he was a good friend of mine all my life, and he was a real talented guitar player. He taught me how to play most of the licks I know. And then I went to college. I went to Fitchburg State and had a couple roommates who played. So I picked up a Gibson and a Marshall and played in college and played in, Jan, played in a few cover bands. And then after college, me and my brother, I taught my brother how to play bass and I got him singing. We had a band that did like half covers and half originals. They were called Ramp. And sometime in the early 90s, I was looking to join a more serious band, and a lot was happening in the music scene back then. Grunge was coming up, and I saw in the Boston Phoenix, Al Baril from SSD Control had an ad. He was looking for a guitar player to start a band, and I loved SSD Control. So I answered the ad, and we got together, and we recruited a singer and a drummer, another guitar player. Francois from SSD played with us, and we had a band called Gauge. And we consciously did not want to play, be SSD Part 2. We wanted to be more, relevant to the times. I think our sound was a little more mainstream rock and roll, perhaps could be described as grunge. So I spent about 5 or 6 years playing in that band Gage. We did about 2 or 3 CDs with Al, and still keep in touch with Al. He's a great guy, and had a lot of fun playing in Gage, but toward the end of Gage, they were getting more like into bands like Korn and things like that, and I wanted to get back to the roots, to punk rock, the stuff that I liked most of all. And I'm not really an incredible guitar player, never been, never will be, don't try to be, but I figured, I can play in a punk band, and I was working as a sales guy, and one of the reps that I knew, we liked a lot of the same bands, Black Flag and all the punk stuff. So we decided to form a band, which was the Blue Bloods. That was about 1999. And we played, did a few albums with the Blue Bloods, played a lot of hardcore and punk influenced stuff. It was great. We went to Europe. In 2003, we did 30 days in Europe with Blood for Blood and Slapshot. It was called,
that's a hell of a lineup. It was right there. The three bands.
Best time of my life. We just played every city in Germany and all over Europe. 3 bands from Boston in a big bus, and I got to see Blood for Blood and Slapshot every night. And but at that time, me and my wife were having kids. And the Blue Bloods wanted to play, Syracuse, New York on one day, and then the next weekend play, Philly or whatever. I just didn't want to do that. So I kind of eased out of the Blue Bloods. I'm still friends with them, and occasionally I can inspire them or to get back together, and they'll do a gig a year, or every 2 years they'll do a gig, but they're really not officially back together, but they'll still
Yeah.
play a gig. Um, but
Yeah, they played one this past summer, I
yeah,
believe.
with
Yeah.
Drago,
Drago,
because
right?
Drago got back together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Mike from Darkbuster.
Yep.
Girly cell phone number, right? You ever heard that song, Darkbuster? Yeah,
No.
it's Mike Gurley, great guy. Yeah, I played in the Blue Bloods, and then I left the Blue Bloods and spent some time helped my wife out with babies. We had 3 boys, one after another, and um, but I just couldn't get that music out of me. Right? I had songs written. I still had my studio in the cellar. I had a couple ADAT machines, which is the way to record digitally back then. They were like VCRs, right? And that's what we did a lot of the Blue Bloods stuff on, those ADATs. So, I'd invite drummers over and stuff like that and work on songs. And before I knew it, I had a bunch of songs ready, and I just started to get people together. I knew this guy, Mark Powers, a good bass player. So we formed the Welch Boys about 2004. I knew another drummer who didn't know anything about punk rock, but he was a good drummer, Ronnie. God rest his soul. He passed about 10 or 15 years ago. So it was Ronnie on drums, me, Mark Powers on bass, and then we got who the hell else do we get? Oh, we got another friend of mine who just didn't know punk at all. He was a metal player, PJ on guitar. He was incredible, and we needed a singer. And I remembered when we were on that tour, the Back on the Map tour in Europe, and we would play a Bone Crusher song called "Hell, I've Been There" every night. The Blue Bloods would play that, and the guitar player from Slapshot, Ed Lally, would come up and sing the song with us. And I was like, this guy could sing. So I kind of reached out to him and says, hey, you want to sing on some songs that we got done? And he was cool with it, and he sang on them and kind of decided to join us. And he was playing with us and Slapshot around 2005, 6, 7 at the same time. But he got so he didn't want to tour Europe all the time. Slapshot plays Europe a lot. And so he kind of left Slapshot and joined us as our singer and has been our singer ever since. So we've been around for 20 years. Had personal changes, but we've
not a whole lot. It doesn't seem though, right?
been through a few drummers. Our first drummer, Ronnie, was a great guy, but just got caught in the. It's funny. Like, during practice, we would smoke a bone or whatever, and drink beers, and he would never touch any drugs, but he crushed his fingers at work, and they gave him some painkillers, and kind of that led to him going down that spiral.
Yeah, that's a story all this time nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, it's sometimes the addiction comes from just from a doctor prescribing stuff. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
But I miss Ronnie. He was a great guy. And he played on our first album. So we got other drummers. We got Sam from Toxic Narcotic, who was amazing. He played on a couple of our albums. And then Sam left because we're not making money. We're playing punk rock,
Yeah.
And Sam had an opportunity to be in a band that could make a few $100 a night. So, so we got Jose, who's been in the Blue Bloods. He's been in a lot of different bands. He's from San Juan, Puerto Rico, Jose Morales. And he's our drummer right now, and he's a good drummer. And the other personnel change we had was last year. Our lead guitarist, PJ, left us because he's got young kids to focus on his kids. And we picked up a guy, Brian Tedesco, who was also in Penalty Kill. So he's our lead guitarist, and I'm our rhythm guitarist, and the other 3, Mark Powers and Ed, have been in since the beginning.
Yeah. Now, how do you? I always ask this. How do you balance like music and family life, especially in the early days of like the Welch Boys, right?
Yeah, it's not that hard. I mean, I had always had 2 jobs too. I was a wedding DJ for 20 years. I don't know. If you don't play if you understand that we're doing this band for fun, we're never going to make it real big. If you do, great. But And so we'll do it as we can. We'll play, 4 or 5 gigs locally a year, maybe tour Europe every couple years. It worked out for us pretty good that we could do it on the side because everyone's got in the band has got careers. I'm retired now, but for 40 years I sold fiber optic technology, and then on the weekends I DJ weddings, and just squirreled it away. So here I am, 59, retired, and I don't know. I want to go back to work. I don't know what to do.
I see you with all the stereo equipment though. That seems like that's a job in itself, man. Always moving that stuff around,
Yeah,
right?
about 10 years ago, I played Love Shack for the last time DJing. I couldn't stand it anymore. The brides would just, it's good money, but the brides would just drive me nuts. So I left that and I said, I need another side hustle. So I started buying and selling from estate sales. And I bought the stuff that I like, stereo equipment and guitars. And it turned into a pretty good side hustle. I mean, I got a Savers, right, which is a thrift store down the corner from me. I pop in there every day and pick up a $15 stereo that I can sell for, $100 turntable or whatever. It's kind of like the thrill of the chase, right? I'll go to a flea market and pick up stuff, and I like to fix it. So yeah, that keeps me busy.
Yeah.
I keep that side hustle going, and it's really helping to pay the bills. So I'm fortunate to be able to retire, 59 years old, but I couldn't do it without that side hustle.
Yeah, for sure. I'm getting more into like when I was younger, I was big into stereos and stuff like that, and car audio and then house stereos and stuff. And now I'm kind of getting back into the swing of it. And like, do you like when you find these things, do you kind of like rotate them into your own like your system?
Oh yeah,
to just try them out. Yeah,
I fleece the best stuff. I've got a nice stereo system in every room, right? Tube amps and. The best stuff. If I like how something sounds, I'll hold on to it. I ain't going to sell that, But sometimes I sell a piece, and it's hard to let it go, like a guitar or a piece of stereo gear. But it's good money. It's cash money, so it's a good side hustle. But I mean, back to your original question, Trev. I think I think you can fit music into your life. It is a struggle, which such the name of your show, right? Struggling Artist. It's a struggle to maintain, to pay the bills in the house, any house. My wife has always had a job too, so that helped. But it helps having a wife that's understanding of, that I like to do music. Because we've had band members in the Welch Boys that haven't had that, and they're not in the Welch Boys anymore, So it helps to have her support. And some people go golfing a few times a week. My thing ever since I was younger was to play, record, and write music. So we've kind of, even though we've been around 20 years, we haven't done the things to make ourselves super commercially successful. But we've kept it going for that reason too. We've never gotten so intense like this band is our life, right?
Yeah.
And so it's been, everyone in the Welch Boys understands that this is a hobby. We work hard on it. It's certainly not a casual thing. When we call a practice, man, you got to be at the practice. It's like a sports team mentality. But hey, I've seen bands come and go, and we stayed together. So it's something that you can do. But at least for us, we've been able to do it by doing it in moderation. We could have months where we don't do anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and you guys put out bangers. Like I remember the first time I heard the self-titled album. This was I'm originally from Rhode Island. I really got into Boston like punk a little late than most people because like I wasn't here and it was before the internet kind of thing, I remember the first time I saw the Dropkick Murphys and they had local bands with them, and I was just like, wow, what is this? You know what I mean? So it kind of opened up the doors for me. But I really hit my stride when like Pandora showed up.
Yeah.
Because I would make like a Dropkick Murphy station, and it played a ton of just Boston local bands, and that's how I found the Blue Bloods, and then you know the Welch Boys were there. It was right around. It was probably right after, probably a year or so after the self-titled album came out, and like, all that stuff just hit like heavy rotation to a point where like that was like, you know, people have their comfort music, and it's like usually like mainstream stuff. Like I had that, but like I also had this group of Boston bands that I would just listen to these albums over and over and over. And like to the point where like I forgot, like I didn't like, I just assumed like most bands weren't doing things anymore because I was just listening to the old albums. You know what I mean? So I had moved away. Like I moved to Massachusetts in 2011, and then I left in 2018 for like 2 years, and I came back, and then I had the podcast then, and it really opened up like just kind of getting more involved into like the local music and stuff. And I think right around that time, within that first year of me being back, you guys did the Bone Crusher split.
Oh yeah,
and
that was our last record. That was our last record. Yeah.
Yeah. So I made sure I remember I saw, I think it was like a Facebook post or something about it. So I was like, oh man, is this like, you know, so I went and I pre-ordered it. And then Mark over at State Line Records, he had like some on his web store. So I grabbed one from there. I was like trying to get both variants, you know?
Yeah.
So I got one of them. I got one of them in a frame over there, and then I got one that I play. You know what I mean? So yeah. I'm like you can see I'm kind of a nut about records. So, you know, but so you guys have always been like your band has always been like a staple of mine for me, and I use like I don't know if it's good or bad, but I use all like the Boston bands that I love as like my like that's like when I'm gauging newer bands that I'm listening to, like whether they're from New England or not, like I use you guys as like all right, you got to be this level.
Oh, geez.
To get my attention or whatever. But so I will fast forward a little bit more. I didn't know if you guys were doing anything after that split or not. And then you did a show. Actually, I saw you guys like twice within a month. You did a show at the Midway. I think it was one of Loser Circle's like Christmas shows. And then you guys played with the Drowns, and I was going to see the Drowns, and I got to see you guys play like twice within like 2 months, which was awesome.
Yeah, they're good guys.
Because like yeah. So I would say, and I know Rev, right? And like he was like so pumped that you guys were playing that show with him, like, you know. And that dude's like he is like a walking like, I don't know, and like museum of music. You know what I mean? Like he was telling me about bands that I'd never heard of, and like, you know, and like
he worked for Pearl Jam too.
Oh, yeah. Did he? I didn't know that.
From Seattle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like, and your guys, like, I always describe like your like bands like the Welch Boys, bands like the Ducky Boys, the Blue Bloods, you know, Slapshot. Like, I'm like, that's just like Boston street rock. Like, that's what I just always called it that. Like, I get, like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, that's because that's the sound that where I heard it the first time was from there, you know?
Yeah. It's really great. You can dig in deep, and there's a lot of good bands. It must be something in the water.
No doubt. And I see you out there at shows. You know, I've run into you once or twice at shows. I think I saw you at the Iron Roses played a show at Medford. Was it Medford where they played Deep Cuts? They played Deep Cuts. I ran into you there one night, and you know, and so I mean, like, you're out there. You're in the community, you know, which is awesome. What have you seen? Has there been a lot of change as far as like interactions with the community that you've seen over the last, you know, 25, 30 years or however long you've been playing music? Yeah.
People come and go. You know, you got your regulars that come to Welch Boys shows, and I think as the internet grew, we got more exposure out of that. You know, I love, like you, I love local rock. For 20 years, I've done a TV show. I try to do an episode a month called Sonic Lobotomy, and we get local bands on. You know, we've had Dark Buster on, and I do that at the Access Cable in Salem, Mass. So, you know, I think people are proud of their local music in Boston, and they support the scene. And there's really a lot of clubs to play. People complain, oh, there's nowhere to play. There are a bunch of good clubs in Boston to play, and people show up to see bands. It's been pretty consistent in the 20 years the Welch Boys have been together. Sometimes we'll play a show and the room's half full still, but usually we get a good crowd for a show. And I started 2 years ago this side project, TJ Welch and The Wasted, with my son, who's 23. He plays guitar and I play guitar. And I'm surprised how quickly we were accepted in the scene. We can get gigs pretty easily, and we don't even have our record out yet. It's not coming out for another month or two.
Yeah. So I remember you announcing that band. Like you're like, hey, I'm starting this other band. And then yeah, it seemed like you guys are getting gigs right away. It looked like.
It was cool. It helped that I was in the Welsh Boys before, but I just knowing a lot of people in the scene, other bands saying, hey, you want to play this show with us or that show? We're playing the Midway this Friday with my buddy, when I was engaged, the drummer, Tony, has a AC/DC tribute band now called ADHD, and we're playing with them on Friday. It's our first time playing with them. So it'll be interesting. We play mostly originals, and we're opening up, and then they've got a real good singer, like a Bon Scott type singer. So I'm excited to play that Midway again. But yeah, it's at least in Boston, the community is strong and has been for many years, and kind of fluctuates, but it's a good scene with a lot of good bands and new bands coming up all the time.
Now tell me about playing music with your son, being in bands for all these years, and then I think you said you had a band with your brother at one point, right? So, but like playing with your son, does it add like anxiety to you, or because you don't want to see like you don't want to mess up in front of him or whatever, or is there any kind of like that thing? I remember being a kid and playing sports, and I played my worst games when my father would show up. You know what I mean? So, so is there anything like that?
No, it works pretty good. Me and him get along pretty good. My oldest boy, I've been trying. My middle boy is also a good singer and player, and he's a little more shy. I've been trying to get him to come up on stage and do a song or two here or there. But my oldest son, he's like me. He just likes to rock it out. A lot of my songs, I do most of the singing, and I write a lot of lyrics, sometimes too many. And I'll forget, he'll be over there, and I'll look over at him, and he's wording the words to me, so I remember him. So, I think he's probably a better overall musician than me. But hey, it's TJ Welch and The Wasted, not Owen Welch and The Wasted. I'm going to take the guitar solos, not you. No, right. It's great having him in the band, and if I'd like to get everyone in the band singing songs. Our bass player sings a song, so I'll sit down and write a song with Owen soon, maybe, and have him sing it. And if he wants to do a solo in it, that's cool. But it's been good having this group of guys together. Other totally different than the Welch Boys. It's not going to help but sound like the Welch Boys, because I wrote a lot of the Welch Boys songs, but
I think they sound different, though. Sure. I think there's a different vibe between the two bands.
Yeah. I've got some country style songs in there, and generally it's more. I would describe it as more dad rock than punk rock.
I can see that. Yeah. It's good stuff, though. So when I was watching the Sonic Lobotomy episode where you guys played it, I could see with some of the shots they were doing on stage for you guys. Like you guys were having a lot of fun. It looked like, you know what I mean. And he was singing. He was singing with you at some points. And so when you write a song, and I think with the interview part of it, was you had said some of these songs you were writing back like you were writing during like when you were writing stuff for Welch Boys, but it wasn't like it didn't come out that way, right? It didn't sound like it was going to be a Welch Boys song.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of funny songs. There's a song called 54. I'm 54 and I like it. My hair is gray and my knees are sore. That wouldn't have our Welsh Boy singer wouldn't have sang that one. There's another song called "The Female Joey Ramone." Right, it's just about a pretty girl that I saw that looks like Joey Ramone. And it's a funny song, but it wouldn't. Welsh Boys. Like we're playing oi. Punk rock.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason I kind of enjoy doing this TJ Welch and The Wasted too, is because with the Welch Boys, we're kind of like AC/DC, right? We stick to a genre and a format. We don't pull out acoustic guitars. I mean, we are what we are, and that's what you get, And I like it. I don't really want to change it. I don't want to start doing ballads with the Welch Boys, but
Right. Yeah,
TJ
right.
Welch and The Wasted do whatever we want. If I wrote a song that sounds like, Nick Drake, let's do it. And
Yeah.
so
I see these like it's cool to see like when because the older we all get, right? Like sometimes we just kind of we fall into the same momentum of like the same thing, like the redundancy of things, and we don't get a chance. We sometimes I think it's part fear, right? You do what you know and you don't try to expand on anything creatively. But to see that like you're taking like you're having a lot of fun like creating something different. Like that's cool. That's inspiring. That's inspiring for people, I think, to see that. Like that you can still start something new no matter what,
Yeah, and I in turn, I've kind of been inspired by people like Rockin' Bob Sensi. When I was 14, my favorite punk band was Jerry's Kids. They were faster than everyone else, louder, tighter, angrier. And Bob Sensi was their amazing guitarist. The guy went berserk live. There's a few YouTube clips of Jerry's Kids from the 80s where he just jumping around, lying on the floor with his guitar. But Sensi, over the years, he still does occasional Jerry's Kids reunions, but has done his own bands, and they're quite different. And he's singing. He really didn't sing for Jerry's Kids. He's singing on this project. He's like me. He doesn't have the greatest voice, but he's writing songs that are quite different. And, I saw that was kind of like inspired me. Hey, if Sensi can do it, I can do it. I actually had him on the Bob Sensi band on one of my episodes of Sonic Lobotomy. But yeah, so that's inspirational.
Yeah, for sure. And it's also, I feel like having two separate things like that, like they'll never, I feel like it's easier to not accidentally blend them,
Yeah.
I think that works out. I think that works well,
Although the Welch Boys think I'm taking all the good songs from the TJ Welch and The Wasted. Nah, they're cool. They've been supportive. I think the few of them are coming out to see me on Friday, so that's good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, that's always good. That's always good. So you said TJ Welch and The Wasted has an album coming out.
Yeah,
soon?
we did 10 songs with the Benny Grotto studio in Mad Oak Studio, maybe? Is that the name of it? Yeah, in Boston, like a year and a half ago. And we just did the basic tracks and been spending all the time layering it and putting keyboards and stuff. There's going to be a lot of keys, organ, and pedal steel guitar, all sorts of shit in this album. It's going to be quite different than anything Welch Boys, but it sounds good. I mean, I can't wait to get it out there, to try to get it out on vinyl. I'm going to shop it around, see if I can get some. But I know at least I can get it out streaming on the streaming services, but I'd like to get a vinyl press on it and maybe play, some more shows with the, in support of it.
Right on. Yeah. Would you, with the band, like you can kind of, because of, I think, can you fit on, because one, you could fit on like any kind of bill, really, like a punk bill or like just like a rock and roll bill or whatever. But like, because you have the reputation of like the punk rock, how often do you are you always like, is it always a punk bill kind of thing,
No,
or
no. In fact,
no?
with the T.J. Welch and the Wasted, it's more rock and roll. We'll play with
Yeah,
like the
that's
Super
awesome.
Suckers a few months ago. We'll play with just regular rock bands, or we could fit in a punk bill too. We still do a couple Welch Boys songs. I think we do Les Paul, and you got to do 617. So we do that with the Wasted until at least
Yeah.
until we write more songs, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so if Welch Boys is probably limited in who we could play with live, right? Punk shows or maybe metal bands. But with TJ Welch and the Wasted, it's we'll play with anyone. Look,
Mm-hmm.
we're playing with an
Mm-hmm.
AC/DC tribute band Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. Do you when you write music, like do you know what you're writing for? Like what band, or does it kind of come as you're writing?
Yeah, I pretty much know that. Hey, I want to write this as a Welsh Boys song. Although there is a song called "Dorchester Girl" that we do that I initially wanted to be a Welsh Boys song, and then I kind of stole it because the Welsh Boys weren't doing much at the time. This is when we lost our guitarist. We were off for about a
Mm-hmm.
year, so I kind of used it for T.J. Welch and the Wasted in the meantime. But now that the Welsh Boys are doing a new record, and we can announce this live here now. We're working with
I was gonna say I saw that
yeah,
yesterday.
Chris at Autism Records down in Pennsylvania has agreed to put out some vinyl for us. So we've got about 6 or 7 songs in the can now, and we're gonna do 3 more. We're gonna try to do a 10-song full length, and we're trying to get it done by the summer. So we've been coming over to my house, but I got flooded the other day, so my studio had about a foot of water in it. That sucked.
Oh,
Yeah, first time in 20 years here I get flooded, but it was just the perfect storm of ice and nonstop rain.
ice and yeah, it was snowing and raining, and then it all went to
God.
ice, and that this past, we're gonna get to old New England talk here, but like this past winter this current winter has been so bizarre. Like it's been super cold, more
Yeah.
like it's usually cold, but like we've been in a cold snap for like I feel like 2 months now, and like when it snows, it just turns it's either 45 degrees and it all melts, and then it freezes once the fucking sun goes down, or you know what I mean. It's been a strange winter.
Yeah, it does. We've had it easy the past few winters, and this one has got some teeth. It's not being easy. It's probably still be winter in April.
Yeah, yeah. How do you now? How when something like that happens with your equipment and stuff, like is it ruined, or can you
Enough
because
of it
you
was in
said you
rags,
could
but it just sucks. Everything down
yeah.
there smells moldy, and I got pumps sucking water out, and there's still water leaking in now today.
Oh
So it's
Jesus.
it's just something I got to deal with. I got my buddy Larry. He was the guitar player for Kill Slug, so he's a construction guy. He's coming over tonight to take a look and see what we can do to prevent the water coming in. He's a good guy. In fact, Larry did that Agnostic Front show at Bridge 9 Records last month. It was awesome.
Oh okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Larry helped do that.
Yeah. So I want to kind of talk about Sonic Lobotomy a little bit, because I had found out about it a couple years ago. I think he had what's Billy Moonbeam's band called? The
Hellbound Hitman.
Hellbound Hitmen, great band. I just had a brain fart. That's all. And I was like, oh, I'm like, this TJ Welch does this. So it's not like is it a YouTube thing, or it's an actual like TV show that's on like cable, like public access?
It's both. I started it out about 2004 with a guy named Joe, who's not with us anymore. The hell's Joe's last name? Joe Macon. So Joe was he did the video for Les Paul and 617 for us. Early in the Welsh Boys history, he was a good ally. We used to take him on tour. He had a muscle disease. He was in a wheelchair. So like we played CBGB with the Dead Kennedys, and we put his wheelchair up on stage. Joe was a good guy, but the muscle disease got the best of him. Passed away about 10 years ago. But me and him started Sonic Lobotomy. Our first episode, we had Dark Buster on. And
I watched that one last night.
yeah, there's about 85 episodes, all sorts of bands, mostly punk. I try to do an episode a month, but I think most of the first half of this year I'm concentrating on. We shot the whole Sonic Lobotomy crew shot a New Year's show with all the who's of Boston rock, like Barrett Whitfield,
Nice.
John Butcher, at the Cabot in Beverly. It sold out, and we shot it with like 6 cameras and did interviews. And I mean, I think we can get this thing even though it'll be a Sonic Lobotomy production. I think this thing is going to be so good that we could probably get it on Netflix or something. It's going to be a
Yeah,
good
that's awesome.
documentary. So that's
Yeah,
been eating up all my time. That's why I haven't done any Sonic Lobotomies. That and
yeah,
the 2 bands I'm in.
yeah. So, do you film like it? Do you get behind the camera too? Like, is this something like? How did you get into this? What made you want to go? Hey, I want to make a TV show, and this is what it's going to be because it's awesome. You know what it reminds? Like like they used to do all these shows. I remember all these like variety shows way back when I was a little kid that people would watch, and like they would have like the music acts and the interview process. So you kind of like you just focusing on the musician, which is awesome. The musicians that are involved. So like where did this idea kind of come
I
from?
always liked local rock, and Joe Macon was real good with video. And I was able to get Danvers Access Television to let me come in there once a month for a few hours and do a show. And then eventually they moved, and we couldn't do loud music in their new location anymore, so we took it to Salem Max. And
Mm,
those guys are great, and I've been working with them for 10 years, and it's great. We show up if my son wants to come do camera, or my friend, or they have a staff. So we've always got people. Sometimes I'm behind the camera. Um, Sometimes I'll do some sound, but it's great. We've done 85 episodes, and I think when you're shooting in high definition in a real studio with real cameras and good sound, it's much better than video that you'd get from an iPhone at a club, right? With the
yes,
lights and all.
yes.
So I think it's helped bands in that way. Some bands take the show and use it to promote them and get themselves bookings. It
Yeah, because it's good. It's good quality. You know what I'm saying. Like you're using like legit TV equipment, right? You're
Yeah.
using like their like. How does that like? What's the overhead on that? Like, does it cost money to be able to go to public access and do
No,
something
it
like
doesn't.
this?
If
Or
you live in the town, and I don't even live in Salem, but I know people that live in Salem, so I'm allowed to do it there. But if you
hmm
live in a big metropolis town, and chances are there is a public access facility, and it's free. And if you can talk them into getting rock bands in there, go for it. You know, so there is no budget or overhead. I haven't thrown any. I don't think I've thrown any money into the show. I mean, I could go out on YouTube and promote it and throw $100 a month to get it, so I get more hits. But I don't. I don't. I just kind of. I think it's beautiful the way it is, where we're not beholden to any commercial. I don't have to get on the show and say our sponsor is this or that.
yeah, yeah,
It's to me that gives me the freedom to have whatever we want and do whatever we want. So there really is no budget. I'm just using their gear. It's just my time.
yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And again, you're like you're still involved in this music community out here. You're bringing these bands in, and you did so the one you did for New Year's was like it's like going to be like a documentary.
Yeah, oh, we went all out on that. I mean, I'm good friends with Barrence Whitfield. Been around for years. A real good R&B type singer in Boston. Barrence Whitfield and the Savages. Been around since the '80s. And then
Mm,
I actually work for John Butcher occasionally. I'm his guitar tech, and he's like a real good blues Hendrix type player. He was, toured in the '80s was his prime time. He was big back then. WBCN used to play him. He had some few good albums out, and he's still at it. It still fills up rooms. He's an amazing guitar
mm,
player. So, Barrence Whitfield organized the night at the Cabot. It holds about 800 people. It's a big theater in Beverly, next town over. And he got all different players to play that night. It was a special night. He got Butcher to play. He got Sal Baglio from the Stompers. He got some local legendary Boston players, and they did play for a couple of hours and just got the room on their feet. And I know Barrence. I pitched it to him over dinner one night. I says, "Hey, can I shoot your show?" And they actually, to practice together for the show, they came over to Salem Access Studios and
Oh,
worked out the
nice.
songs before the show. So we got them practicing and put the songs together. Then we got them the whole night. We shot it with like 6 cameras. And it was great performance. And then after that, I brought Berenson and interviewed him, kind of like I would in Sonic Lobotomy. And now comes a fun part, editing it all together, which I've got the good fortune of having people at Salem Access that are going to do that because I hate
Nice.
editing.
I know it gets tedious. It gets so tedious.
It's probably going to take about 6 months, but I think we're going to get definitely better than the usual episode of Sonic Lobotomy. It's going to be more in depth, and I from what I've seen so far, it looks real good. I told the guys, everyone in the production, all the bands and musicians, hey, I want this to be kind of like the band, The Last Waltz. Let's get you, all these different camera angles, good quality, good sound, and spice the movie up with clips and interviews and making it a feature length, hour and a half. So
that's awesome. That's awesome, man. That's good because there's like, I remember like, when radio stations did a lot of local stuff still, and we don't have that anymore. But you're still broad, whether you're doing it for just YouTube or you're doing it for public access and YouTube, like you're broadcasting locals still, and that's, to me, that's awesome. Like I'm a big fan of that, and that's kind of like when this podcast kind of went to like this music thing. Like I was like, I really wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to showcase people, like, because like there's bands, there's bands out here that like deserve to be on that big stage, and it's just like there's so many, like just no one's ever gonna make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because just not for any reason other than like you just don't have that opportunity anymore, right? It doesn't happen as often as it used to. So, yeah, man, my hat's off to you for doing that.
Me and you were doing the same thing. We're doing it because we love the music, and we're taking, we're consistently doing something.
Yeah.
So a lot of people do this for, a week or two or a show or two. When you've done something over the years, that's a commitment.
Yeah, and I haven't missed a week of a podcast episode since 2020, end of 2020. So, like I'm crazy though. Like we have like monthly shows that come out on Fridays too for doing other things. So like I'm constantly like it's a second job, man. And now like we started this conversation. You were saying like you're retired, but like you do a lot of things, man. You have 2 bands. You have 2 bands that are active. Not only are they active, they're both putting out records soon. You have a TV show that you do, and then and now you're doing this documentary too. You have a busy year. 2025 seems like a busy year for TJ Welch.
Yeah. I don't know what it is. I'm like a dynamo. I just keep going. I think I have some type of ADHD or autism that may be undiagnosed, ultra focused on stuff.
Yeah. I hyperfixate on shit all the time, and so I try to do it for stuff that's creative and less on stuff like actual work.
Yeah. Although I've been tempted to go back.
It's a better
to work.
reward. It's a better reward, though. You feel better when you do something creatively, I think.
Yeah. Being retired, you try to fill your time up where you previously were working. Yeah. I've been retired for a year. I don't know. I've been tempted to go back to work.
Yeah. No doubt.
It's just weird. I can't explain it.
Yeah. Now, is there any this is going to drop, I don't know. This is going to drop probably around April. Is there anything like around April that you know of that you want to promote right now?
No, I think probably in the May-June time frame will be both the Welch Boys' new vinyl and TJ Welch and The Wasted.
Oh, wow.
This summer you're going to get hit with a lot of new stuff from us, from me, and We really don't have any shows scheduled for either band right now on the books, but I would imagine we'll fill up with some gigs for the summer. We'll probably play around Boston. Would like to play some East Coast shows. We always like playing down in Connecticut. Big shout out to Joaquin, who books all the Connecticut shows. We want to play New York with our friends in Chumhuffer. They're a New York band. We wouldn't mind playing some shows with Bone Crusher. Now, Bone Crusher are good friends of ours from LA. We've toured Europe with them a few times. So they're getting back in the saddle as well after some setbacks. So perhaps, where we did that split with Bone Crusher, right? The split vinyl a few years ago. Maybe we'll do something with them. Certainly Europe, maybe again. We like playing in Europe.
Yeah, everyone likes playing in Europe, man. Because they love music more than Americans do.
Yeah, it's kind of
other than the select few of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. They don't know how big or small you are in Europe, right? So I encourage any band to make the effort to go over there, because people will show up especially if you get on tour with a band like the Drowns or Bone Crusher or something, or and they do appreciate the fact that American bands are making it over there, even though they may not like our political situation now.
No, I don't either. So I'm with them on that. Cool. All right, so I'm gonna. But from one interviewer to another, where do I grade? Am I like a hard C?
Oh no, you're great. You ask all the questions because people who are listening want to get. That's what I think when I interview, right? And you're just like me. You want to get inside the person's head, find out why they're doing this.
Yeah,
and maybe that'll be inspirational to another artist who's watching.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Now, where can people find TJ Welch and The Wasted online? Where can they find the Welch Boys online? Where can they pick up music from? Well, you don't have anything out quite yet for TJ Welch and The Wasted, but where can people find the music to grab?
Well, we're both bands are pretty good. Well, TJ Welch and The Wasted will be releasing some stuff on all the major Spotify and all that, Apple, all the major streaming services. That'll happen probably in May or June, as well as the new Welch Boys record. Welch Boys have about 50 songs out there, 4, 5 CDs, splits, whatever, on Spotify and all the streaming services. We've got some songs on, what's that other music site for new bands?
Bandcamp?
Yeah, Bandcamp. I think we've even got some songs on Bandcamp. We've got a presence on Instagram and Facebook, both TJ Welch and The Wasted and the Welch Boys. There are links in our Facebook page to get to merch. We have merch, on-demand merch agreements, where you get a Welch Boys shirt.
Nice.
We try to promote our shows and throw gig posters out there and spread them around the web. So yeah, pretty much if you just Google the Welch Boys, you're going to get a ton of videos on YouTube. There's always someone in our shows aiming a camera at us, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And even TJ Welch and The Wasted is the same. I mean, we did a whole show last year with a bunch of bands for Dean Jackson Memorial at Sonia, and we played with the guys, Jerry's Kids, the FUs. So we opened that show up, and Sale Max's video filmed the whole thing with like 3 cameras. It looks good, so that's out there. Nice. TJ Welch and The Wasted live at Sonia. We're going to do some videos. March 9th, we're doing a video at my friend's bar. The Wasted, TJ Welch and The Wasted, doing a video for Dorchester Girl. So when we get that video done, we'll put it out there. The Welch Boys have done videos over the years for a lot of our songs. I think even though MTV's long gone, it's cool to have.
Yeah, there's an art form with it too, and I feel like it's still needed. I feel like music videos are still needed.
Yeah, and shows.
What about vinyl? What about if someone wants to grab physical media for the Welch Boys right now?
We don't have as much of that as we'd like to. Our last album is out on vinyl. It's called Bring Back the Fight. And you can get that through the label. What the hell's the label? That came out on. Jeez, Was that? I see. I'm drawing a blank on what label that album
Yeah.
came, but it's the album with the hockey player on it, right? You can get that out
Yep.
there in
Yep.
vinyl if you just look on Amazon or whatever. It's probably
I think I got one. I got that when you guys played the Midway. I grabbed one that you
yeah.
guys
They
had.
gave us a box of 100. We probably still got 20. But that is and then Last Punk Rockers Records has the split that we did with Bone Crusher, and they're out of Germany, but they'll ship to the U.S. Last Punk Rock.
Sailor's Grave Records. That's who.
Sailor's Grave, yeah.
That's who has
So
it.
Salem's Grave kind of is somewhat defunct now. Great guys, but it's just a tough business to make any money. So, but I'm sure they still have some vinyl available in Salem's Grave. And then our new one, the new Welch Boys, will be out. They're going to print some vinyl at Oitism Records. Oitism.
Nice.
Uh,
What if now with Sonic Lobotomy, is there like a waiting list if people want to like reach out to you and talk about coming on, or are you like me, you just pick who you want to
It's a little of each. It's a little of each. I'll chase a band, but since it's nonprofit, we can't pay a band, so I can't really get the more popular bands. It's hard to get them, right? But up and coming bands, they'll either reach out to me or vice versa. Or my son will turn me on to a band. I've had some of his friends' bands on, and or I'll go out and play with other bands, and I'll get blown away by a band and try to chase them to come on. So it's a little of each, yeah.
So how do they reach out to you if someone wants to kind of connect with you?
You can just probably best to go to my TJ Welch Facebook page, or go to the Sonic Lobotomy Facebook page. I think there's an Instagram page for Sonic Lobotomy. I don't do the best job of online marketing.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I just started doing like all of our social media myself, and I'm like, this is awful.
Well, you know what it is, Trev. At the end of the day, Facebook wants you to kick them a few $100 to get more looks.
Yeah,
and I was never cool with that. I don't want.
No, me neither.
I'm not going to spend the money that could be feeding my kids just to get so more people see a post.
Yeah, I'm like you. I won't do that either.
I mean, you like and subscribe is understood. If you go to Sonic Lobotomy's YouTube page, hopefully you like and subscribe. I'm not going to come on the beginning of every episode and go, hit like and subscribe.
Yeah, I don't do that either.
Yeah, that's automatic. I'm not going to get down on my knees and beg you.
Yeah. Right on. Well, TJ, man, this was awesome. Thanks for coming on and talking with me. And I'm looking forward to new music from you this year.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And I appreciate you letting me come on your show, Trev, and evangelize all my creative efforts. And I want to thank you for what you do with your podcast for all the artists like myself.
I'm just giving back to the music that's helped me in my whole life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that doesn't go unappreciated. I really appreciate it.
Well, listen, the door's always open. You guys, when you put out a record, if you want to come back and talk about it, let me know. We'll have you back on.
That sounds good. Maybe I'll get the other guys. Maybe Ed. Maybe I'll get Ed to come on. The singer. He's the face of the band.
All right, and that's the show. I want to thank TJ again for being today's guest on the Struggling Artist Podcast. In the show notes, you will find the links to all things the Welch Boys and TJ Welch and The Wasted. Thank you to Chris Chavez, Aria Rad, and Jeff Bousquet for being part of the Struggling Artist Podcast team. Check them out on their Instagrams. You can check out Jeff at JRB Image, Aria at Coffin underscore salesman. I don't know why I choked on that word. And Chris at 716 The Sound. Thank you to Mark at State Line Records for doing what he does, putting out awesome music on his label, but also sponsoring this podcast. Head to StatelineRecords.com. Check out some of the vinyl that he has in stock and pick some up. Shop locally, but over the internet. Small business over the internet. We'll go with that. Thank you to the band Losers Circle for always allowing us to use their song Great Illusion of Time off of their album Took Long Enough. There is always a link somewhere within the struggling artist world where you can get to their Bandcamp and pick that up. Or just go to Bandcamp and type in Losers Circle. They're the only band. And you can grab that tremendous album. If you're a patron supporting us over on Patreon, I thank you. Your contributions help us with putting things together, putting on events, getting projects together that you all can be part of. It is much appreciated. This community of ours has grown. Like, we are part of this huge community, but now, like, we have the struggling artist community that's within that. And I am so grateful for every single one of you that are part of that. Even if you're not a patron, just if you listen to the podcast and you reach out to us and you do stuff like what Dave did and suggest a band to us or whatever, thank you so much. Thank you all for listening. I do appreciate that. But if you want to become a patron, head over to patreon.com/podcast TSA. Check out the tiers. We have a free tier. We have some other things going on. We're on a little bit of we're doing a little hiatus from the Patreon shows at the moment. Just because I need to get caught up with all these shows, because this is the flagship, right? But we will be back with those shows, but we have other things we do over there, and you get to check out. I know at some point soon, the audio from Struggle Dome Volume 3 will be over there. And that'll be a good place to check out some of these bands, that we had over. What an awesome event that was. Thank you to the bands, Coffin Salesman, Your Friends in Hell, and then Jeff Bousquet for being part of that wonderful night. I don't know if I mentioned that yet since it's been here. I have a lot of these recorded already, so this literally just happened 2 weeks ago. So anyway, thank you to everybody. If you want to reach out, Trev at thestrugglingartistpodcast.com. If you want to submit something for Aria Rad's Underground Noise, you can go Aria at thestrugglingartistpodcast.com. We have a few things coming up in the next few months with the website that I'm excited to talk about. I'm going to see if I can get like everyone who's part of the podcast to get on. Maybe we can announce it together. We'll see how that goes. But yeah. And if you want to give us a voicemail or a text, 774-570-1552 is the number to call or text. We will never call you back, I promise. I don't even call people back when they call my personal line, and I apologize to that, but I'll get to you eventually. I just don't like the phone. I really don't. But yeah, so 774-570-1552 if you want to play, if you want to leave a voicemail message for the podcast, or just shoot us a text and let us know how bad we're messing things up. Let us know. All right, well, it's time to get out of here with a song. TJ was kind enough to give us a tune to play at the end of the episode. I can't wait for new Welch Boys music, let me tell you. But till then, this will tie us over. This comes off of the Welch Boys Bone Crusher split. The song is called Methadone Mile. Until next time, take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you then.